next up is synthesis and transformation. If you checked out our Facebook page, you would have seen the video up there. Okay, but for those of you who haven't seen, I'm still going to be going through it. Okay, here are some very common formats that we see in synthesis transformation questions. Okay, and here is a whole list, but I'm going to go through them one by one. Okay, unless is a conditional statement. So usually we would use it in the form that is positive variable first, followed by negative variable. So unless he agrees to go out with me, I will not help him with the project. Okay, so unless he agrees, positive variable, I will not help, negative variable. Okay, but sometimes certain examples, they will put the unless in the middle. Okay, we're going to take a look at an example like that later on. Okay, another type is neither nor, either or questions. Okay, this is the type where students often make the mistake of using a plural noun or plural verb. Okay, because they think that because there's neither nor, it sounds like they're referring to both. Or when they see either or, they also think that it's referring to both. But if you think about it, okay, neither nor, they're not referring to either of the subjects. A and B, they're not referring to either of them. Okay, either or, they are referring to only one of them. So neither nor questions, either or questions, in the end, we would always use singular form. Okay, and that's where a lot of students make mistakes. Despite questions, okay, later on, once again, I'll use another example. This is a statement where the adjective form needs to change to the noun form. Okay, so if your ending sentence in your synthesis, after you convert the sentences, okay, it still has an adjective or a verb inside, you know you're wrong. Okay, it needs to be the noun form. No sooner had than, okay, it sounds kind of complex, but really what it means is just two things are happening sequentially, one after the other. No sooner had he burst open the door than the burglar ran away. Something like that, right? It happens at the same moment, okay, either simultaneously or right after. It was with, okay, with questions, take note of the noun, the main subject, so that you know singular or plural forms. Who, whom, where, when. Okay, the trick for these questions is that there's a difference between who and whom. Okay, who is always referring to the subject, the person. Okay, whereas whom is more about the connection between the person and something else. Whom does this belong to? Okay, we're actually referring to the object and its relation to the subject, the person. Okay, so that also affects the form. Okay, as well as questions, usually they will have maybe two sentences, right? Jack is a fun guy. Mary is also a funny person. Okay, so when you combine them together using the phrase as well as, you would ignore whatever comes for the second sentence, right? You would just take the first subject in the first sentence, take it as your first noun, combine it together. Jack as well as Mary are funny people. Okay, not only but also, okay, these kind of questions, they need to be the same connotation. So let's say I am saying that, okay, English is not only interesting but also fun. As you can see, both of these words have positive connotations, right? I'm actually complimenting the language. I cannot say not only is English interesting but also not very engaging, right? I cannot say that because the two of them contradict each other. Before after questions, okay, a lot of us would think of it as happening in a different sequence, okay, and that's why you use different tenses. But no, because they happen in the same time frame, they would need the same tense. Okay, and last but not least, in case questions. So I know I talked to the crowd in the clouds there. I was hoping that some of you very eager students would write down the whole list and write down notes next to it, and so that you can apply it to your own practice. But if not, okay, this is a very concrete way of looking at it. We have some example questions here. Okay, so synthesis, as we know, we are given maybe two sentences at the start, or maybe one long sentence. Then we are given a phrase, okay, the words on screen here in red, to combine the sentence or to rephrase it. So the first question here, Jane said she will not wash the dishes. Jane wants Mary to wash the dishes with her, or she will not agree. Okay, so earlier on I was saying that unless is a conditional statement, you begin with positive variable, then you go to negative. But in this case, unless is right smack in the middle of the sentence, right? So that means that we don't really need to follow the positive then negative sequence. Okay, the important thing is you need to get the gist of the sentence. Jane said she will not wash the dishes. Okay, what is her condition? Her condition is Mary washes it with her. If not, she will not agree. So the condition will always come afterwards. Unless you do this, I will not do that. Unless you agree to this, I will not come to your party. So in this case, unless, after that, we see her condition. Mary washes it with her. okay, Jane will not wash the dishes. Second type of question, okay, Jack does not like to gossip. Likewise, his brother John does not like to gossip. Okay, they sound like really good people. Everyone I know just gossips. It's the easiest way of conversation. Okay, so here is, we are given neither nor. Okay, neither Jack nor his brother John likes gossip. Okay, you can see that I turned the S here into red because we are referring to neither of the subjects. We are not talking about Jack, we are not talking about John. Neither of them, okay, fall into the category of liking gossip. In other words, the subject here is singular, so likes needs to be with an S. Okay, likewise, if I say either Jack or his brother John likes to gossip, same thing, it will still be likes, it will still be singular subject. Okay, John's mother advised him, blue word here, take note, to study harder. John still spends all his time gaming. Okay, and the magical word here is despite. Okay, so despite is another one where we need to change the adjective into a noun form. Okay, because it has that kind of conditional quality to it. Despite having this, he still does that. Even though this happens, that thing still occurs. Okay, so as you can see the word in blue here, advised, okay, it is the adjective form. It is the verb form, right? Advising someone is an action, is a verb. Okay, but we change it to the noun form here with a CE because of the word despite. Okay, so take note, unless, despite, you need to change it to the noun form. We have another question here. Okay, David is going to the birthday party. Xingyi is going to. Remember what I said about as well as questions? Okay, you can ignore whatever comes after the second subject. Okay, you can just say David, comma, as well as Xingyi is going to the birthday party. Why is it is instead of are? Right? When you say as well as, it sounds like we're talking about the entire group of people. But no, because we are ignoring whatever comes with the second subject, we are focusing only on the first subject. That's why we are just looking at as David as the main subject. That's why it is singular. Okay, so I hope all my singular, plural are not, mumbling and jumbling into one. Okay, let's take a different look at this. Okay, so instead of looking at the question and then the answer, we're just going to look straight at the answer. Here are some example sentences. Okay, I hope you guys can imagine what the question would be like that causes you to come up with this answer. Okay, so here are the different types of questions, also from the list from earlier. No sooner had Jane closed the door than someone knocked on it again. Okay, so you can picture the question being something like, Jane had just closed the door, full stop. Someone knocked on it right after. Okay, and then in the question blank, it probably says no sooner had blank than blank. So this is how you combine it together, knowing that they happen in the same sequence. Okay, she closes the door, then someone knocks on it. Okay, you fill it in accordingly. What about the next one? With dismay, Christina acknowledges that she failed her calculus test. Okay, so with questions, like I said, you need to pay attention to the main subject. The main subject here being Christina, one person. Okay, so as you can see, acknowledges is with the ES. Okay, that she failed her calculus test. So probably the question was something like, Christina was dismayed with an ED when she acknowledged with an ED that she failed her calculus test. Why does the tense change? Because the form of dismayed also changes, okay? Because you're looking at the subject of Christina. That moment when she acknowledges her failure is that moment when she feels dismayed. That's why dismay changes, acknowledges also changes, okay? So next question, Madam Tan is not only humorous but also kind. This is pretty straightforward. Just make sure that both words are the same connotation. If they don't fit, okay, one is positive, one is negative, that's not right because it contradicts itself. Okay, before Miss Lee recorded the presentation, she went to meet her friend. Once again, you see two colors here. Okay, before it's in red because that's the question word, right? But the words recorded and went are in blue because before after questions, right, it is easy to think of it as using different tenses. But they both happened, both events, recording the presentation, going to meet her friend, happened at the same moment in the past. Okay, it's the same timeline, and that's why both of them are past tense. Before she recorded the presentation, that's in the past. She went to meet her friend. Meeting her friend is also in the past. Another question here. Jane should turn off her phone lest it rings in the middle of her interview. Okay, so for lest questions, this is a word that we don't use in conversations, right? It's very strange for us to see in a question. So one way to think of it is this just means in case. Okay, and in case means we need to make sure that we put something in place to prevent a certain bad result. So in this case, okay, whenever you do a lest question, you replace the word lest with in case to see if it flows. Okay, so Jane should turn off her phone in case it rings in the middle of her interview. Okay, so what's the bad thing she's trying to prevent here? The phone ringing in the middle of the interview, and the thing that she needs to do to prevent that, turning off her phone. Okay, so just replace it accordingly. Okay, if not, you can also use the phrase in the event of. Okay, they all have similar meanings. All right, so here is a quick summary because I think this is probably the most content-heavy part. Okay, we have the types of questions here: unless, which is conditional, either or, neither nor, despite. Okay, pay attention to unless and despite. You need to change the adjective to the noun form. No sooner had than. Okay, they're happening around the same moment or one after the other. With questions, pay attention to the subject. Who and whom, remember the difference. Okay, who is the subject, whom is the object. As well as you need to pay attention to just the first subject. Not only, but also both of them need to be the same positive or same negative. Before or after, take note of the tense. In case, okay, that's how you replace less questions. Okay, then direct, indirect speech, as I said, here are the words you need to change. Last but not least, general rule of thumb. Okay, grammar, subject-verb agreement. Okay, so this is just a general overview. There are a lot more nuances, but for now, just know that singular verb needs to follow singular noun. Plural verb needs to follow plural noun. Either or, neither nor is a singular noun. Okay.